So what exactly do you need to take when you go wild camping? A lot less than you think. Stay tuned and I'll show you what I take on my trips when I go wild camping. Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in and watching this video. Well, as you can see, it's a glorious spring day, spring weekend. First weekend I was going to go wild camping in the sunshine, and unfortunately I have the little fact of the dreaded COVID that has finally caught up with me, so I can't actually get out and about. However, not one for giving up. I thought I'd get out in the sunshine anyway and use it as a chance to show people what I would take if I went wild camping this weekend. Obviously the weather's getting a bit better now, which is nice, and I've just come through, or we've just come through probably the longest, harshest winter that I can remember for a long time. Not particularly cold, but windy and extremely wet. So it's really nice that we've got a bit of sunshine now and we can get back out into it. So I thought I'd run through what I take out wild camping. The thing is, when you ask people what they take out when they go wild camping, everyone will say something different. Truth is, as I've come along, and I'm no great expert in wild camping, I've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years now, you find out that you in fact need a lot less than you think you're going to need. That's the key point. That's quite important, because if you're going off for a hike into places that are worth going to wild camp in, you want to keep your weights down. You don't want to take unnecessary stuff with you. So it's really important to try and get rid of the chaff, take what you need. And really the essentials are your shelter, your sleep system, your cook system and your navigation systems. Those 4 things really are what you need if you're going out into the wilds anywhere. You need to know where you are, you need to have shelter, you need to be able to feed yourself, and you need to be able to get a decent night's sleep. So if you get those things sorted out, then you're pretty much on course. Let me show you what we have in the backpack. So here it is. This is what I take, and now a lot of people will laugh at this backpack. It's a really old, it's 35 years old, this one, which is a Euro hike Eagle 601. You can't buy it, so don't even bother looking it up online. However, talking about weights and getting your weights down to the essentials, this rucksack, which is absolutely huge and expands massively to take anything you do want to take, weighs in at 990 grams. 990 grams. You can't buy a 990 gram rucksack for anything less than 100 quid, I would have thought nowadays, certainly the ones I've looked at. So that's one of the key things as well. Make sure you get a decent rucksack which is right for you. The only way of doing that is going out and trying them. You can see them online, you can read people's reviews all day long. Everyone will tell you, they'll tell you what they have is the best thing since sliced bread. Go and try something. Go and try something that fits for you, that works for you. That would be my golden words of advice. Try them on. If they feel nice, they feel light, they've got plenty of room in them, that's what you want. Make sure you've got plenty of side pockets. Make sure you've got easy access to things. I see some of the modern ones now that I've bought and just discarded, that the zips are so tight you can't actually get anything in. Whilst this looks old, which it is, a bit like me, it is hugely expandable and very, very light for what it does. It's even framed as well. Not the best looking thing in the world, but very functional. So I'm just going to run through what I've got in here, and I've packed it semi the way I pack for a standard wild camp. I adapt it during the winter, spring, because the weather conditions are different and you just need different things. So I'm just going to run through those things now with you if I take it apart. So bearing in mind you need the bare essentials. anything else, luxurious items, they're just going to add to your weight. Actually, what I'll do is I'll weigh this now and just let you know what I'm going out with weight-wise. So this is base weight. This is weight before food and water. A litre of water will weigh 1 kilogram, give you an idea. So that's 2 bottles, and I'll show you the water bottles I take with me. So this is the base weight that everyone talks about. If you watch any other YouTube video about you know, what weight they're going out with, they talk about base weight. This is the base weight. It's pre-food and pre-water, because that's obviously something you can add later on. So I'll just weigh that one up now for you. So this is coming in at just a shade over 9 kilos. Just a shade over 9 kilograms. And when I first started going wild camping, I went out with, I think it was 16, 17 kilos. And it reduces the amount of distance you can walk so much. It's unbelievable. You just get that weight down, in my opinion, to anything between 10, 12 kilos even. So that's what you will be having with food, etc. You can just walk so much further without it being a drag on you. You don't want to be hiking around going, I'm not enjoying this. You want to be enjoying what you're seeing when you're out there hiking. So aim for a base weight, 8 or 9 kilos, then add your food. Now, you don't have to spend a fortune to get your weights down. I know you'll see many YouTube channels relating to wild camping that will be spending an absolute fortune on gear. Now, I can't afford to do that, so I don't. But there is something to be said for some quality going a long way. So do research into the items you can get. There are plenty out there, and if anyone needs any advice that I've gathered over my short period of wild camping, having gone into the rabbit hole of finding out what's really good and what's bad, then please do let me know. You don't have to spend a fortune on stuff, but you do need a certain quality to be safe and to be warm and to enjoy your trip, and that's what it's all about, enjoying the great outdoors. So I'm just going to run through, I've just stuffed the kit that I normally take out in here, so I'll just pull this out randomly and show you what I'm taking. So as part of the shelter and keeping warm, keeping dry is also an essential. Certainly if you're going out on Dartmoor or any of the moors, the weather can change. You really do need to make sure that you have adequate clothing, adequate rain protection, waterproofs with you. So I always keep on the top of mine, regardless, even if it's like this one minute, it can be raining the next. So take your waterproofs, waterproof trousers. Gloves, it can get cold in the night, don't forget them, really, really important. And waterproof jacket. So this is just a cheap waterproof jacket, a regatta waterproof jacket. And if I've got plenty of other warm jumpers, etc., that does the job. I do also have a Peter Storm coat, which is 100% waterproof. Although they say nothing is 100% waterproof, it does the job. But one of these little Packet Max does the job. If you've got warm clothes as well, dry clothes, you can put that one on and it will keep you dry. It's an Isolite 5000. That's really good value, 16 odd quid on Amazon. I also take a warm down jacket as well with me, so I can put that one on and then put the rain cover one on as well, because the problem with down jackets is if they get wet, it's not very good for them, it's not very nice, they don't do the job after they get wet. So have both. There's no size to them, and in fact that compacts right down in size as well, that down jacket. So my luxury item, talking about weight, is quite a big cook set. I like to cook. I like to cook different things. You may have seen me in previous videos doing cooking with homemade food in mylar bags, boiled in water. This little kit here, which I'll do a separate review for, will allow you to do all sorts of things. So you can cook water, have separate pots for cooking your food up in. I don't like to have to wash up a pan just so I can boil water later, so I do keep 2, and that is my one kind of silly luxury, because you probably don't need that much. But that whole thing there weighs about 890 grams, and I will do a separate review here when I get round to it, which has taken me a couple of years to develop, to be honest, to get it right for me. Might be not for you, but it is for me. So that's that. What have we got here? I'll come back to that one in a minute. Fairly near the top, because when you're hiking all day and you get to your spot, you want to set up. It might be raining, or you just want to get your tent up first. Bear in mind, if you're wild camping, really, wild camping is only legally permitted on Dartmoor in this country, but obviously people do it everywhere. Do it respectfully. People don't want to see you setting up your tent along a pathway somewhere when they're still out walking. So pitch late, leave early. Tent like this. So this is the Lanshan. This is the Lanshan 1 Pro, and you'll see me using this in all sorts of weather conditions. I'll put some links up here. I've actually used this all the way through the winter. It was mainly purchased as a summer tent, but I like it so much, and it is tough as old boots, this tent. It has been out in some really vile weather and not let me down. And if you compare it, it's a copy basically, so if you compare it to the one that it copies, this was about 139 quid. The one that it's trying to emulate, shall we say, is about 450 quid. It's tough, it does the job. Hasn't let me down yet, I'm sure it will one day, but really love it. So that's the 3F UL Gear Lanshan 1 Pro. That's a single skin tent. And that weighs 690 grams. That's the whole tent there with pegs. No fly sheet, but it has a ground sheet in there as well. And it works by just putting up a pole. And I've got the pole here. I use either the walking pole, which I'm filming on now, which is my little invention of a tripod and walking pole combined. I might even show you that later. Or you have a set of poles here. So these set of poles just basically have no weights to them whatsoever. You just connect them up like that. Oh, if I can do it like that. And there we go. Forgot how to do it there for a minute. And that forms the basis of your tent. Certainly the hiking pole tent. It's set at the right height for me. And just goes into the ground. Now that looks really flimsy, but with the design of the tent being guided out all around it, and it has many good guide rope points there on that tent, you'll find that it's going nowhere. And like I say, you can see it in the videos that I've just put a link to. Hopefully there'll certainly be a link at the in the description. So that's your tent poles. Another little luxury, and I to be honest, don't take it very often, more in the summer than I would in the winter, because in the winter you don't need to sit out, you'll be in your tent, you won't be sitting outside. So I take it in the summertime, certainly, I'll have a little OEX, very lightweight. I mean, this is weighing nothing, less than a couple of 100 grams that. So it's nice to be able to sit out, certainly if you're older, having a beer in the sunshine, it's nice to sit down. But as I go on, I take it less often, to be honest, because I don't mind actually being connected with the ground. It's something earthy about it, and something quite nice. So you can get one of those, and you see people picking up these big massive chairs that turn into almost armchairs, and that's fine if that's what works for you. It's not my kind of thing, to be honest, but whatever likes your candle. What else we got here? This is the gas I use for that cook system. Again, it's a little bit of a luxury. It's a lot of gas there, but it's certainly, if I'm out for a couple of nights while camping, it works for me. You can get the smaller ones, which are very expensive. This kind of gas is actually very cheap, very, very cheap. So you'll be paying about £1 a can for that, and that's about twice as much as you get in a £3 or £4 mini can. So it just seems to make sense to me. What else have I got in here? Spare clothes. Always take spare clothes with you. You don't know what's going to happen with the weather. There's nothing worse, and I've just come back from a camp a couple of weeks, well, been on a camp a couple of weeks ago where I got very wet, and it's cold, and it's windy, and your clothes don't dry. Make sure you've got some spare socks. Make sure you've got a spare pair of pants, more comfortable if you're not in wet pants for an evening. Base layers, extra clothes, extra warm clothes. Just depends on the conditions you're going out on, but if you're going out, always take spare socks, always take a spare base layer. That way you'll have something to fall back on, so that's really important as well. These are all in like waterproof bags as well, so if the bag gets wet, these stay dry. Top tip, but that's pretty obvious. Then I've got my sleep system. So this is my sleeping bag. This is the Nature Hike CWZ 400. Very compact. This is it in its compact state. It goes right down, but obviously when you take it out, it fluffs up nicely. It's a down sleeping bag. It's only really 3 seasons rated. This is rated down to 4 or 5 degrees, I think. But in winter time, what I do is instead of having a really expensive bag for winter time and then having a separate one for spring, summertime, I have just this one, which is a nice bag, does its job. It's massive, it's square, it's not a mummy bag, and if it's the winter time, I take that, plus I take a cheap little Aldi separate sleeping bag, and I put one inside the other, and that gives you double layers, and you can see me doing that in one of my latest videos anyway, and it does actually just add to the layers you have around you and keeps you that much warmer. So that's what you need, because the weather on Dartmoor in winter, I'm telling you, it gets cold and wet. Now, you would have seen me do a review of a pillow as part of my sleep system, which is here, which is the Trekology Aloft. I've got to say, I didn't get on with that pillow whatsoever, and eventually it deflated and kept going down on me. It was a great disappointment. Now, I know a lot of people swear by it. I don't like inflatable pillows. I like a real pillow, something to really cuddle into, something to, get your neck into like that. I don't know, maybe it's just me. So I've gone back now to a very cheap, £7, High Gear Dreamer pillow. Now this is a self-inflating pillow, so it's foam filled. You just basically turn the knob on it and it will self-inflate. What a lovely pillow. Seriously, for £7, I think it's a bit more expensive now. I've had this one for years, and I've gone back to it now because, to be honest, it just does the job. It's comfortable, it's a proper pillow. Having a proper night's sleep is really important, so go with what you like. And if that's a little bit of a luxury because it takes up a little bit more space, so be it. The other one I had, the Aloft, is in a little package like this, so very space saving, but if it doesn't do its job, there's no point in having it. That's what I recommend. There are loads of other ones, and I'm probably being blinkered as to what else is out there on the market, but for £8, and it works for me every time. Then your sleep system. So a good night's sleep, as I said, is really important, and it depends on what time of the year you're going out. If it's spring and summer, you don't really need to worry about losing heat through the ground, and you'll have heard about thermal ratings of mats, and it is really important, and I've really found that out this year more than any other year, having gone out in some quite cold and wet conditions on Dartmoor and in other places. So it really is a case of balancing comfort with practicality and keeping you warm. Now, this is my sleep mat system, which again is a Trekology product, which is the UL80. Now, UL80 is fairly widely accepted as being an extremely comfortable mat. It's curved on the edges, it keeps you in place. It actually trains you to sleep on your back quite comfortably, so you don't have to keep tossing and turning, which is good. But it has little to no thermal rating. That's the size of it there. It expands out into a massive bed, fits in your tent, but it's really quite thick and comfortable. But there is no thermal protection on that. It's just an air mat. Very comfortable air mat, but just an air mat. It costs about between £45 and £50, but probably one of the best buys I've made from wild camping. I didn't want to spend, you can go up to 180 quid, 190, 200, 250, 300 quid on mats, which are thermally insulated. And if you're going, alpine camping, yes, you would need it, because you do lose body heat to the ground when you're on the ground. However, Dartmoor, which is where I mainly wild camp, in the spring, summer you don't need to worry about it. In the winter time, it gets wet, and a wet ground on Dartmoor in the winter will just suck the heat out of you. That on its own is not good enough. You will be cold, so you need to have some extras. Now, that's just a pump sack, by the way. I use that to pump the mat up. The reason being, you don't particularly want to blow into your mat, because your water vapour from your breath will start getting the insides all mouldy. So if it's in winter time, I do take a couple of other bits with me as well. So you'll see people obviously camping with these little roll mats, light as anything. There's no weight to them, but they're a bit bulky. The beauty of this bag is I open up the lower section, I can get that down and get all that kit in there as well. It adds nothing to the weight, and the reflective quality of that is definitely worth having. Definitely worth having in the winter time. You don't particularly need it in the summertime, although it does protect your mat from sharp objects, depending on how you've laid it out. You can be on a stone or something like that, and they can pop. I've never had a huge issue with that, but they can come through. Some twigs can come through, so you've got to be careful, and that does actually add some protection. But now spring and summer is here, I won't be taking that out with me anymore. It's just a bit bulky and gets in the way. So that's the main bit of kit done. That's the extra sleeping bag. That's the main bit of kit done. What else do you need to take with you? So you've got your shelter, you've got your clothes, you've got your sleep system, you've got your cook system. But that's not all there is to it, obviously. So a few other points which are important. If you're out in the wild, you are going to, at some stage, depending on how long you're out there, need to answer the call of nature. Well, easy enough if you need a pee-pee. Not so easy if you need the number twos. So always be prepared for that. Take your shovel. The reason you take a shovel is you don't want to be leaving little messages all around the moors or wherever it is you're wild camping, because basically that will just be horrible. Now I know there's a school of thought that says you should take it home with you. I'm not sure I subscribe to that, but I do subscribe to the fact that you should hide it away and let it, decompose naturally under the ground. So this basically, very tough actually, from Amazon again, surprisingly tough for a plastic trowel. Basically, cut a circle out of turf, away from water sources, away from where everyone else is going to be. You know, use your head when you do it. Make a little cutout in the turf, take that off, dig a hole, do your business, put the earth, bury it back on, put the turf back on top of it and bed it down. Get it out of the way. You don't want any kids coming along and turfing that up. That's perfectly good to do that. If you can, obviously with wipes, use biodegradable wipes if you need that as well. So these are biodegradable wipes for that. Oh, I also find an emergency blanket. I always take one of these with me as well, just in case. These are the things you see marathon runners wearing at the end of a race. It's an emergency thing, and also if it's really cold, you can lay it on the floor as well. Acts as an extra thermal insulation for your sleep system. So that's that. Leave no trace and all of that. What else have I got in the bag? Right. Oh, at the back, instead of taking the chair, I always take this one with me. This is just you've seen these, everyone's got them, a little sit mat. The reason being that even today, out here in the garden, obviously I'm not on Dartmoor, out here in the garden, the floor will still be wet, so you don't want a wet bum. Despite the fact I've got waterproof trousers, they're not 100% waterproof, they're water resistant, and you just don't want to get a wet bum. That's good, particularly if you're in your tent in the winter as well. You can sit on that, keeps your bum warm. Top purchase, £4, £3 off eBay. Don't forget your cover for your rucksack. That sits in the back of my rucksack. So the other essentials you need to take is lighting as well, one of the essentials. I always take two forms of lighting. One of these, again, a very cheap item off Amazon, I think it was. So this was about £6. Really long lasting light, and also you can charge your phone from it, so it's has a double purpose. And if you get into trouble, two settings and a flash setting, just to let the helicopters know where you are when things hit the fan. And then this one, which I actually absolutely swear by, although look, I've just pulled it apart, is my head torch. Two settings on the head torch. I'll flash you with that one. I tell you what, this is really bright, lasts for ages, and cheap as chips. This was about £4. Again, I see people buying really expensive head torches which last a long time, I guess. You know, the battery levels will be better. I've got this one which the battery level lasts for ages. I've got two identical looking ones and the batteries don't last as long and they're not as bright. So really it's a bit of hit and miss. But this is the Spark version. If I can show you that, there you go, Spark version head torch. Just sits on your head. And I tell you what, I've had 2 nights wild camping out of that thing alone, even without having to use that light, so it's enough. Also, what have I forgotten on here, I know. First aid kit, and like what I call my emergency kit, which is just bits and bobs. So the bare essentials, so I've got pole repairs in there, I've got a first aid kit. You don't need a massive first aid kit, you need the obvious, so a couple of plasters, antiseptic wipes, stuff like that really, just be sensible with it. Paracetamol. Here's another top tip, get an old credit card and wrap some gaffer tape around it. So if you have a problem with your tent or something splits or your ground sheet is split, you can just unroll the gaffer tape off your credit card and away you go. Lighter. I always go out with a couple of lighters in case your cook system doesn't work. It's not to start fires on Dartmoor or anywhere like that. There's been a big fire up country yesterday, probably, I say probably, as a result of some wild campers having fires. I'm in two minds about wildfires. Lovely idea, but you've got to be really careful with it. You know, particularly on Dartmoor, which is very peak based. You know, in the height of the summer, people don't realise that the whole thing will go up. You know, you drop a tinder down and it burns down into the ground and then just burns and burns and burns. So please don't have wildfires on the moors. You burn everything down and you'll endanger life. Another essential if you're out with regards to water, if you're not near a water source, you're going to have to carry water. If you are near a water course and you've planned your route fairly well, you can take water filter with you. This is a mini well, which is great. I wouldn't recommend it to you, to be honest. I wouldn't go out and buy another one, but it does the job. Probably the best one is a Sawyer Mini now, which just attaches to a bottle. This does the job. It's okay, but doesn't last very long. I've been through a couple of those before. But a water filtration system, useful certainly if you're out for more than one day, with 2 500ml bottles, which I've got here. Let me grab one. 500ml flexi water bottles. That's enough to keep me going for an overnight camp, 2 of those. So that's a kilogram of weight. But if you're out for more than a night, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle with that. Having enough water. It's important to keep yourself hydrated. So the other part of, and very important part of going out on any wild camping trip, is knowing where you are. Now, obviously, if you're out onto the moors can get very disorientating very quickly, and you can lose your way. And it's vast out there. Though Dartmoor, for example, is only, well, it's 368 square miles now, although it was 365. They've added a little bit for some reason. That's a big old area, and it's very easy to lose your way. So I use different navigation systems, and in the modern world you'll probably use the same phone, and I use a Garmin Instinct Solar Watch, which is this one here. This lasts forever. Well, it doesn't actually, but it lasts for a long time. Certainly 1 or 2 nights while camping will keep you on track. Plan your route, know where you're going, and also as a backup, carry your map, and familiarise yourself with some basic navigation skills. You know, just being able to know what a map is telling you. It's all very well having a map, but if you don't know how to read it and how to interpret it, you can come a cropper. If you're just going to a nearby car park on Dartmoor and you're travelling in, you know, more than 300 metres from the road, which you have to now, I think, it's unlikely you're going to get lost. But to go anywhere worth wild camping, certainly on the moors on Dartmoor, or anywhere else up the Lake District, etc., you're going to have to go a little bit further. Familiarise yourself with this, what it means, you know, where the hills are, and how to pinpoint where you are. Take a compass, learn how to use it. Just get a rough guide of how to do those things. You don't have to become an expert in navigation, but if this fails, if your batteries fail, and in the cold weather they do, something I hope people know about, that if you go out wild camping, keep your phones and navigation systems close to your body to keep the batteries warm, because the cold absolutely murders them, murders the batteries, and you run out of battery and then the weather closes in on you, you can become easily screwed, and that's when people need assistance. Touch wood. Oh, I haven't as yet, but always have a backup plan. Always carry that compass and carry that map. Familiarise yourself where you are at all times, and that way you can get yourself out of problems if you get into them. That's it really. What else can I tell you? That's what I take. What you'll find is people will tell you, oh, that's rubbish, you don't want this, you don't want that. You know, you've got to keep warm and you've got to have a good shelter with you. People will say what they've got is the best. That's my one experience of being on YouTube. and finding out about wild camping over the last few years is that everyone will say, oh, you need this, or you need that, you need the other. What you need is a good shelter. It doesn't have to be the best shelter, you need a good shelter. If you're paying £10 for a tent, there's something wrong. If you're paying £50 for a tent, there's something wrong. However, it's all about personal choice, and there's nothing wrong with spending lots of money on having a dream tent, you know, because there are benefits to it as well. You'll be able to assemble them much better. They'll stay up and they are built for the job. So, you know, MSRs and Hubbers and all of those kind of tents, whilst they're costing £400-500, you are getting value for money, but I can't afford it. I was just going to show you quickly what is my winter tent. Talking about value for money, and I've used this through the winter, the previous 2 winters, but not this winter. I carried on using my Landsham 1 Pro because it just coped with it. But something like this, which is a cheap tent, I think you can buy this for about 60 quid now. It's 1.7 kilos, 1.75 kilos. It's Bobcat OEX, cheap and cheerful, and people will laugh at it. But do you know what? It's a really good tent, so I just thought I'd say that. All your pegs in it, everything to go. It clips out. It's a bit small, so if you're over 6 foot, you might struggle with it. But there is a video of it here quickly, or I'll show you a picture of it here or somewhere. You don't need to spend a fortune, is the point I'm trying to make. But you don't want to be buying cheap skate stuff, really. The other thing is making sure you've got some decent waterproof. So these are waterproof and thermal trousers. They're not expensive again. I picked these up for about 30 quid. I say they're waterproof, look. They're not really. They're water resistant. That's why I have that little mat. And your shoes. I've got a set of shoes here which are very expensive to me. They're about 80 quid. They're Merrell, I never quite know how to say it, Gore-Tex boots. Extremely comfortable, and again, if you're going out for a long hike, that's what you want, you know, find something you're comfortable with. But mates of mine have got £50 shoes, leather shoes, waterproof and very comfortable, so you don't need to spend the earth on that. Just look at the reviews of stuff, of what people say, and you'll get something which is worth having. That's about it. If I've forgotten anything, please do leave a comment down below. If you don't like any of the gear I've got, you don't have to go and buy it. Go and find your own. To be honest, I've honed in on these bits over the years. I've bought mats, I've bought stuff that's gone down, stuff that I've got a separate set of kit up in the garage there. I've got cookware coming out of my ears because I keep trying different things, and then you find you'll settle on what's comfortable for you. So by all means look at other people's reviews, but at the end of the day everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to come out with their own ideas of what works for them. So I hope this has been useful to some of you on what I take out for a wild camp, and it's a shame that I'm not out in it in the one weekend of the year, having gone through all the rain and the wind that I have been through this year. It's a shame that I'm not out in it this weekend, but I can't be due to the dreaded COVID. But I'm coming to the end of that, so I should be free to go out and about from tomorrow with a bit of luck, and hopefully get back out into this glorious sunshine. Although next time it will probably be raining. So if you get a chance, do get out there, try a bit of wild camping, connect back with nature. It really is something quite special to do. Please do respect the countryside if you're out there. I'm not going to sit here and lecture you on it. It's just it's there for all of us. You know, everyone has a right to it, but everyone has a right to expect you to clear up after you as well. Don't leave your litter around. Tidy up, be respectful to it, and it will be respectful to you. Well, that's quite a good catchy phrase. Take care, enjoy the great outdoors, and be safe when you go out there. All right, thanks for watching, really do appreciate it. If you get a chance and you want to subscribe, click the buttons down below, ring the notification bell, and I'll come back to you with some more videos soon. You take care. Cheers. Bye.